Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back working on the metal planer restoration and working on our shaft here for the drive assembly. And this is going to be a continuation of the previous video that we posted. We ran a little bit long on that one, so we're going to finish it up on this one. If you haven't already, go back and take a look at the first video first. And we're going to finish getting this shaft turned out. Let's get at it, guys. I got our part turned around now. Again, we just flipped it over because we're turning between centers. Put a different drive dog down on this end, and this time I took some brass and just kind of put it up underneath this just to protect it. There's a set screw that comes in from the bottom. I didn't want to mar this surface up since this is a bearing surface. Went ahead and put the steady rest back in here. It's kind of right on the edge of this. This is actually off of an area where anything's going to be going on, so if it messes up that surface a little bit right there, it's really not going to matter. And next step here is we're going to turn this down all the way. I got a line right here. It needs to be the same size as this bearing journal. There's an area in here about yay long. I'll get it once we get that down to size. We'll figure out exactly where it needs to stop, and then it goes down to a little bit smaller diameter on the end and a thread on the end. So let's get at it. All right, let's roll on down through here. We're cruising along here, about to come up to this shoulder for the first time. Made a couple of passes. Taking about 25 thousandths total material off each pass, which is a little bit lighter than what I'd like to be doing, but that seems to be working good. I'm getting a good finish. I'm not getting any chatter on this part. The chatter on this part has been a little bit aggravating, I'll be honest with you. This machine's capable of hogging a lot of metal off, but we're just having trouble doing it because of the vibrations. But we're gonna whittle away at it and get her done. So I'm gonna take another 25 here. And here we go. I'll bring you back after a while. It's gonna take a while to whittle this down. All right, we've been whittling away here, and we're getting down close to our dimension, which is 1 3/4 inches. I'm about 30 thousandths over. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a 20 thousandths pass on here. I'm gonna leave, 7, 8, 10 thousandths, something like that on here to take off. There's a lot of heat in this right now. I want it to cool down, and I'll actually take that last cut after I've roughed everything out here. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. Just a light pass through here to kind of get us down close to that final dimension. And like I said, we'll come back and clean that up after it cools off. Metal will expand, so when it gets hot, it's going to be a larger diameter. If you're shooting for a precision measurement, if you got a lot of heat in your part, you need to let it cool down before you make that final cut. It's one of the advantages of running coolant on here. This lathe does have a coolant pump, but it's not working right now. I need to get that fixed, and then hopefully I'll have flood coolant that would alleviate a lot of this problem. All right, we're approaching that back shoulder. I'll cut it off a little short, feed it in. Now what I want to do now is actually form this back shoulder. Touch the top. I'm just gonna go straight in so I have a nice square cut there. And that should be it. All right, so let's see where we are on our measurement. I'm shooting for about 10 thousandths over my mark, which we're shooting for 1 3/4 inches. So I'm about 1 inch 760. So that's about 10 thou over. That's good. We'll let that cool down. I'll take that last 10 thou off in another pass later on, but right now let's work on something down at the other end. So now I need to bring this piece down here down to 1 inch 625 thou. So we got about was 125 thou to take off of it. So let's go ahead and get it whittled down. I got my line on there about 4.5 inches from the end of the shaft. We'll stop right on that line. I'm back to taking a 50 thousandths cut. So the finish is a little bit rough, but it's going to get me there quicker. I can finish that up with a lighter pass. 50 thousandths total, rather. I'm just going to take a lighter 30 thousandths cut this time, and that should still leave me 10-15 thou to take off. That leaves about 10 thou there. Now I need to turn the end down. Let's see what that is. All right, so next step here is I need to turn this end down here to 1.25 inch diameter, 3/4 of an inch from the end. And then we'll thread that. There'll be a nut that goes up on that. So I'm gonna change my tool holder out, one that can get in. I'm about to hit my live center there. So we'll go to this tool that can kind of reach down back behind that. And that should get us there. So that insert may need to be changed. Let's see what it does here. I don't know, it's doing all right. We'll roll with it. On second thought, I think we're going to change that insert. That's just rolling it up. All right, I'll be back. All right, I think we got things going again with a good insert. We're taking this down to 1.25 inch. And we're about 1.4 thou right now. All right, we're at 300, so I got 50 thou more to come off. I'm gonna do 40 thou And again, I'm gonna let it cool down before we finish everything up here. Clean that back face up. All right, guys, I'm gonna go off and let this cool down for probably about 30 minutes or so before we finish this up. So this is cooled down now and we're ready to go. So this was about 10 thou over, if I remember right, and we're right on 760. We need to be on 750. And truthfully known, if I'm a thou or two under that, I'm gonna be probably right where I need to be. So let's fire the lathe up. I'm gonna touch off right there. That should be about a 10 thou pass, so let's let it roll down through there. Getting right up on that shoulder. Probably in your way. All right. Got a nice finish on that, and we're right on the money. We're about a thou under, which is right where I want to be. So, all right. Let's move down here. We'll finish up this next surface down here. So we're shooting for 1 inch 625 down here, and I need about 4 thou off of that, looks like, to be where I need to be. So same thing, we'll come in here and touch off. And this one too, if I'm a thou or two under, it's probably where I really need to be. So let's see. We'll just let that fuzz off. All right. See where we ended up at. Yeah, we're about a thou under. I might have to polish that one a little bit. It's right there on the number actually. So this goes down to 1.25 inches. This is going to be threaded, and we got about 13 thou on that one. Right on the money. Next thing I need to do is thread this down here. Actually, I think I'm gonna break these corners. Let me get my deburring tool. And just come in and hit all these. I'll do a pretty I just want to break these corners. I think we're set up. I got my pitch set to 7 threads per inch. I'm going to verify that in a minute. I've got everything set up for threading. I've got my dial indicator up here. According to the book, I need to go in 93 thousandths to get this thread to full depth, so we can be keeping an eye on that. And then of course I got a nut I can double check it with, but that should let me know when I get it. So we should be almost making a complete round on the dial here. I've got my lathes RPMs turned down pretty low just because well, I'm going up against the shoulder and I really don't want to crash this thing. So I'm going to start out by just making a scratch pass. I want to double check my thread pitch. And I may have to make a little bit more of a scratch pass there. I didn't really quite get enough. All right, let's wait for a number to come around. We'll do that again. Got my pitch gauge here set to 7 threads per inch, and we are right on the money. I always like to verify that. I have had it where my settings weren't exactly right before. And if I hadn't have checked it, I'd have been in a mess. All right, so let's see if we can get this done. So I'm watching my thread dial down here, my threading dial, to engage so the number comes up. And we'll stop just shy of that shoulder. Come out, go back to my stop there and feed in some more. According to the book, I need to go 186 thou to get my full depth of cut, so I'm just watching that on the indicator as we go around here. Top of that thread is getting pretty thin. I'm probably just gonna take a spring pass here and then go get my nut and check it. All right, let me get my nut and we'll check that. I think it needs a little bit more, but I'm getting close. When threading, when you kind of start getting the tops of those to a sharp point, that's a good sign that you're getting close. So I'm coming in here and it is trying to start, but it's not going on there yet. So we're getting really close. It's not going to take a lot. Let me take a couple more thou off and we'll do another test fit. All right, I'm gonna take another test fit here. Probably needs just a little bit more, but we're getting really close. All right, let's get this nut started. There it is. Still just not quite catching, so a little bit more. And after a little bit of fine adjusting here, I think we got our nut where it's fitting up on there real nice. Gets a little tight there, but it'll go on up there. So we're good with that. And with that, I think we're done with the turning on the shaft. So now I got to mill a couple of keyways in there, and I think we'll be ready to put this thing back together. So getting into short rows, we got to cut our slots in here for our keyways. One here and one down on the end. This is the original shaft. Now, one thing that's kind of funky on this is that these keyways are not what I would consider standard in today's world. This one here is 13 32 wide, and this one down here is 11 32 wide, which are non-standard sizes today, but in the 1890s, they used a lot of 16ths and 32nds for some strange reason. I've ran into this kind of stuff before. So, no big deal. I don't have end mills that wide. We're just gonna have to go with a little slightly narrower end mill, and I'll just have to widen this thing out to get it to the right cut. So this is gonna be, I think the slot needs to be like 405 or 406 really to match what's in here, thousandths. I've got in a 3/8 end mill, which is 0.375. So we'll cut that to depth and then widen her out and do the same thing down here. I'm probably not going to bore you with all this. You've seen me do cutting keyways before. If you haven't, go check my older videos. I got lots of videos just talking about this. So we'll get these keys cut in here and we'll have this job done. So I will comment though before we get out of here that one way that I like doing keyways on the mill is just lay it up here on these slots. These slots are parallel to the travel. So you can lay your shaft right across them. Automatically lines up. Real quick and easy trick if you don't mind taking the vise off of your mill. Also, I'll put some wedges down here up underneath this end just to give it some support, and of course some brass shims up here so I don't mar up my finish clamping it down. Let's cut these keyways. We'll bring you back when we're done. So there we go. I think we got this done. New shaft is complete. Everything's to size, all the keyways are correct. So this is the original keyway that went in this side, and it's gonna bump right in there. This is the key that goes in this side. This one drives in, and that's gonna fit just fine. So we're good. I know somebody's gonna ask, why not just go ahead and put modern size keys in this? And the answer to that question is, I'd have to come in here and rebroach my parts to match the new keyway width, and I really just don't want to make this thing a non-standard. I want to keep it as original as possible. So even though I'm replacing the shaft, I'm taking everything back to the same measurements as before. But job done, and you can see back behind there I got all my parts ready to reassemble this shaft, and this video has already gotten real long, so we will do that in another video down the road. Well, there you go. That's going to be a wrap on this one, guys. We got our new shaft made, and like we just said, we'll get this thing put back together and reinstall on the metal planer here very soon. Very excited to have this job out of the way. Just some good basic turning, just the kind of stuff you have to do, and that's the reason we have a lathe in the shop, is so that we can make parts like this when we need to. And we're going to get this thing back on there, and hopefully this shall last another good 100 years long after I'm gone. That's it, guys. We'll talk to you next time. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comments are appreciated. Thumbs up if you like what you saw, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.